This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain shocking revelations, violence, and sexual themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I are playing World War Cthulhu RPG. I'm your host, Thom Raley. We continue with World War Cthulhu London. It was written by Matthew Sanderson and Scott Dorward. This scenario is entitled Midnight Sunrise. Our keeper of arcane lore is Matthew Sanderson, and this is episode 3. A recap will be given by Josh Harwood as his character, Dr. George Gross. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Josh?
Thank you, voice in my head. So, well, it's been an odd time. I got back in touch with Teresa. Well, I say got back, we never really lost touch. Not really. It's a shame Edgar's here. It's a very damn shame Edgar's here. But it's okay. I spent, after our little run-in at Teresa's house and in preparation for if visitors arrive, me and Davidge were having a pleasant evening while Leland and Edgar were in the shed, but I really don't know what they were thinking, being out in a shed, while me and Davidge were enjoying the nice inside. However, it soon hit the fan as we had some interlopers. Yes. Who would have guessed the carnage that would have occurred from some interlopers? It ended in a little parley. And John got very injured in this whole process. He's a little worse for wear. He's becoming more and more invisible. And, well, we did manage to put an end. Well, I say we. I wasn't really involved. I kind of went off and tried to get a police officer and just stayed on. And I think I might have found God? Or some other being. I don't know. But the others managed to put an end to these weirdos, these other people, these strange folks who may or may not worship a being from the sky, but shot down. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful creature in the sky. At a glance, you'd have thought it was a star or a passing comet. But no, it was a beautiful being. Or am I just going mad? I probably am a little mad. Yes. Anyway, we continued onwards. Leland got his medical attention, which he really needed. And we ended up devising a plan. We split up. Davidge and Melvin ended up going to visit Dunbar after a little while. We did make sure Teresa was safe and all. Eventually John would join Davidge and Melvin, but for now he stayed with me and Edgar as we did a bit of research. Eventually this led me and Edgar to going to Chamberlain's office. He's a plastic surgeon. And we were let in. Yes. Thought we were some kind of... the police let us go in, which was bizarre. We definitely have some kind of guardian angel of some sort. We were definitely wary, and I might despise Edgar, but I can at least trust his professional standards. Within the office, we found the most important thing, which is a folder on Aurora. And it revealed her plastic surgery was very bad. Her face is stuck. It's horrendous. She's like a plastic doll, not able to move a muscle, stuck in an endless cycle of her own beauty, I guess. Meanwhile, the others were at Melvin's office, which is also Teresa. Teresa was having an affair with Dunbar. God damn it, Teresa, why would you do this? Davidge, from what I have heard in the grapevine, who knows? I don't know. I can only guess what happened at the office. I'm currently not there, so whoever it is I'm speaking to, maybe the voice in my head. Oh God. From what I gather, Davidge decided to wait a very, very, very long time to see Dunbar. They met a man called John Smith. Very odd name. Could be common, but who knows. And Miss Davis, who was the secretary to Dunbar. John Smith was a very bizarre man, and they were keeping an eye on him. But let's speed along on this voice in my head as we voices staring at me. I don't know how voices stare, but I'm going mad right now. Dunbar was, well, David saw Dunbar, Melvin was there, and then crack! A bolt came through and got him.
Indeed it did. Yes, so we have the scene as outlined by our dear Dr. Gross. We'll begin with the first two words that lots of keepers like. Sanity check.
No.
Pass.
Okay, well, that was easy. Right, 0 on a pass, so you're all good. And now we go into Dex order. So, the lovely ball of fire coming through the window goes on Dex of 90. So its action was to blast straight into the back of Dunbar's chair. He goes up like a Roman candle. He starts screaming. The smell of burning pork fills the room, slightly overpowering the smell of burning very expensive furniture, lots of leather catching. The intense heat bursting through the room, not to mention the cries of the fact that there's glass raining down the street outside. And people outside have evidently seen something, because there is just this ball has gone straight through the window. So next up, I believe, is, for those in the room, it's just Green and Harris. You're the only two that are in there, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Right, so of the two of you, the next is going to be...
Green is slightly faster than I.
Yep, Green is on 55, and then Harris is on 52.
52.
Right, so 55, you're up.
All right, so when the blast hits, I mean, obviously we're counting for that moment when you're just sort of stunned for a moment like this. The temperature obviously goes up through the roof. I'm going to throw my jacket up over my head and dive for the door to get out. Did the door stay on its hinges, or did the door blow out as well?
Oh, the door's still shut. This came in through the window from the outside.
Right.
So
yeah, but the blast
you
didn't sort of shove it. Okay. So I run to the door, I open it, and I run out with my my jacket getting all singed, probably in the process.
Yep. No
and I
problem.
yell, Melvin!
And he replies 3 points later on 52.
Following Green out, there's a fire extinguisher just on the wall between this and the conference room. It might not be too late for Dunbar. He might end up looking like Leland, but it's worth a try. So pop that off and go in spraying.
Okay, it will take you around to get out to get the fire extinguisher, and then you'll be able to come in next round and try and hose the ball of flame at that point.
Yeah. Also, of
Well,
course, the office is, it's a beautiful wooden desk. It's full of papers, files, books. So,
I'll
There is a
also yell
lot of
fire.
flammable. Hmm. Yeah, I think
So
various people are going to start to react to that. But yes, as Melvin has said, there's a lot of flammable material in here. There's a lot of paperwork that is just itching to go up in flames. And well enough, we'll cycle back to the top of the round. Once the ball of flame has immolated Dunbar, who is now screaming because it doesn't take him like 3 seconds to die. He is completely engulfed in flame at this point. The ball just starts to hover and quickly move around the room. This thing moves very, very quickly, like faster than a person running. Mechanically, it moves at move 11, so it is quite quick. And it just goes around the room, bouncing between all the filing cabinets, any coats hung up on pegs. It's setting the place completely ablaze. So that's its action, is just to start doing a loop around the room. And we go back to green on 55.
fire, call the fire brigade. There's a fire. Something's happened.
There is commotion. Indeed, the receptionist at the other end of the corridor, out in the reception, is frantically seeing this glow of the office illuminating behind you. Her eyes open wide like saucers, and she starts not quite to panic, but tries to fumble down to the phone, tries to pick it up and starts to dial as quick as she can. But it's an old rotary phone. It's not going to be a very quick process.
This building in the 1920s, probably built earlier. Did they have fire alarms on the wall yet that would cause the sprinklers?
They would have been updated. A lot of the buildings here date back quite considerably older than the 20s, but there would be fire systems here. So
Okay.
you almost
So
certainly
I'll
find
run for one of
be,
those and pull down the switch to.
yeah, or elbow X. No, a lot of them sometimes are
You
like
have to
break
break the
glass here, and
glass.
you
Yeah,
press buttons. Yeah,
break the glass and pull the fire thing.
yeah. So there'll be alarms, all these bells start ringing in different parts of the building, and then we're round to Melvin. You have your fire extinguisher in hand, and suddenly you have a whole room ablaze in front of you. You're
You're
stunned in
muted.
silence.
is the ball of active fire still bouncing around?
It's still in the room, yes.
I didn't see anything in the garden last night, so this is the first indication I've had of sentient fire, so I think it's appropriate for another sand check.
Oh, you passed. That was what the sanity check was for. So
Okay,
the passing it is there's a 0 point loss.
fair enough. So I guess I'll pitch it at Dunbar first on the off chance he'll survive this. Although it might be more merciful to let him continue to burn. I don't think I can process that philosophically fast enough when the man's still writhing in agony.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start at the desk and begin to hose things off.
Okay, give me this will be firearms handgun roll, so that you can aim it and be able to try to put him out.
Pity it's not rifle. Oh, but I rolled a 13, so I'm successful.
Okay, all right.
I can make it hard for 3 if it's worth it.
It'd be extreme would be better because that would be effectively doing the maximum points that it could try and put out.
Oh, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it right. That's so 9. 9 down for an extreme.
Right. In which case, then he's taken 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But that's halved on the second, so that's 5 plus 6. I have to do a bit of maths because this is where it gets a little bit complicated. And also compare against his hit points, of which he has, or maybe had, 10. You're able to hose him, and yeah, you are you're lingering on that thought again of maybe it would have been more kind to just let him burn, because you think he is pretty much this close. He's in a very similar situation to poor John, that he is going to be scarred for life, and he is hanging on by a thread at this point.
Well, if there's any more juice in this canister, then I'll start going for keeping it away from drapes and things. I think the desk is probably a heavy enough wood that it'll take a while to burn, but filing cabinets are fairly heavy. But wherever there's loose paper or whatnot, how bad is the air in here? At least the window's open.
Yeah, the air is starting to smoke up in here, because while the window is open, it is the only source of air getting through here apart from the corridor through the open door. So smoke is gradually working its way out the corridor and out the open window. But as I said, there's a lot of stuff burning. There's a lot of smoke which is starting to fill the air. It's not becoming chokingly bad yet, but give it another couple of rounds and you're going to find it difficult to breathe in here.
Yes, I don't trust myself to try to move Dunbar. I'm going to attempt to suppress the fire sort of in a ring around him so that if there's a chance that the firefighters can bring him out. But I'll keep spraying until the canister's empty because, the office might go up.
True. I mean, there'll definitely be plenty. There'll be enough time for this to be used for a few more rounds. It's not going to suddenly expire in a few seconds. So at the top of the next round on 90, the ball, seeing that you've put out Dunbar, immediately changes tack and goes straight to attack Dunbar again. So let's have you roll for this time rather than me do all the dice rolls. So do you want to give me a roll of 90 or less?
27 is that?
That's a hard. Then 2d6.
Well, he'll suffer no longer. 8.
Okay, and another percentile roll.
72.
Which is above his con of 55, so he takes the full 8 points. At which point, Dunbar, once again, is suddenly almost spontaneously combusts as soon as this thing touches him. The work you've done to put him out, that you think, oh, he should be fine now, immediately erupts again and screams one last time before he collapses in a pile on the floor. The ball at that point, after it leaps off him, hovers in the air, and if anything, you get an impression this thing is looking at you with this feeling of it's annoyed at you. And there is definitely hostility radiating from it as much as the heat. Davidge, what do you want to do?
I'm going to run back to the door where because Melvin hasn't come out yet.
Nope.
I'll run up, and if I see Melvin standing there holding the fire extinguisher, I'm going to take a couple steps in, grab him, and pull him out. I imagine that he's lost in the smoke, unable to figure out how to get out. Mm-hmm. I don't see what he's been doing with Dunbar, gotcha. And the whole room is on fire. So
now that potentially will help speed things along a bit. But to give the player agency here, would Melvin object to being pulled back, or would you go with being pulled?
I'm going to just when he grabs me, I'm going to not know who it is or what they're doing, and so I'll just jerk away. And I'm a little bit probably
post grapple.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to put it as. If Davidge can give me a fighting brawl versus Melvin's strength to see if he can pull out of it.
Oh no! What did I get? No, I'm not strong enough. So I've grabbed a hold of it. I'm like, Melvin, we have to get out of here.
There's something here, man.
Yes, fire. You don't want to be in the hospital with Leland.
As long, yeah.
So yeah, back round to Melvin. Then you've you've managed to reflexively pull out of Davage's grasp. What do you want to do?
And how big is this ball of intense flame?
It's relatively small. It is mechanically size 1. If anything, it's almost like a well, not even the size of a golf ball. It's probably somewhere like a large marble.
It's a real sprite sort of thing.
Right.
Oh,
A
yes.
spark.
Yeah, so I think I'll take aim at it, but having seen it just blisteringly zoom back and slam into him, sort of want to shoot at it and start backing away. And again, I'm sort of like suppressive fire. I want to step back and make sure it doesn't shoot into my head. But I would like to kill it to death if I can.
Well, normally, because of its size, you would have a penalty die to try and hit it. However, because you are using something that's not quite an area of effect weapon, but it's not as precise as a bullet, but it does have like a cone that it extends out in when you grab the handle and squeeze, that will cancel out your penalty die. So if you want to give me a firearms handgun roll and see if you can shoot this thing with CO2.
My luck on that has run out. 91.
You squeeze and you start trying to wildly spray the room, hoping you can get this thing. This thing either it moves and dodges out the way, but in either case, you don't think you hit it. And then once you're waiting for the white cloud to dissipate, at the beginning of the next round, it just shoots out of the window and goes straight up.
The fire brigade's been called. They'll be here in a moment.
Yes, and I'm going to be beginning to worry about what's above me that's on fire. And so, yes, backing toward the exit.
Yeah, you can see flames crawling up the walls. They are indeed licking at the ceiling. Bits of the plasterwork are starting to give way, and the fire is just catching everywhere. It's starting to engulf the whole room. It's starting to encroach out towards the corridor. It's not blocked off your exit because it's not spreading that quickly. Right. But this is the time to get the hell out of there if you don't want to end up.
The building's on fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I leave the office, then I can sort of try to keep it from getting into the larger space until the fire brigade shows up. I've got a little bit of juice, so.
Yeah, we'll leave you in that moment then, hosing down the corridor, so the doorway, keeping the fire contained in the office. But yep, all the paperwork, all the records, they're all gone. Right, and then we'll skip over to see what everyone else is doing while you're waiting for the fire brigade to turn up. So, Gross, Angrave, and Leland, whereabouts were all you three? Let's remind ourselves of where you were.
I believe we were just at the offices of the late surgeon or plastic surgeon.
I was in the bathroom. So I will come out and be like, what the fuck happened, Daffage?
Oh, so Leland was in the offices with Green and Harris. Okay,
yes,
yeah. You say you come out the bathroom and you get what's happened in that point. You're saved by the toilet break. But we'll cut back to you to you with them in a moment then. So Angrave and Gross, you were both at Chamberlain's office.
I'm sure the rest of our friends are doing fine, so we should look into Aurora.
Yes, we definitely need to, Angrave. What? Oh my God, I called you Angrave. Edgar.
It's all right, Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Struck by a wave of formality.
I know. I caught myself by surprise.
That's all right. I could get used to that. Anyways, how do we figure out more about Aurora? I'm sure since she's very well off, they might have paparazzi or some kind of newspaper contact.
Yes.
Is she a local to where we are?
Well, one of the things that we can say, this is a kind of not retroactive, but something you may well have noticed when you're having a look through her file, that you would notice that there would be contact details for her as a former patient of Dr. Chamberlain, which lists her address in Greenwich. She has a very prominent manor house, which is just down the hill from looking at the Royal Observatory, a very expensive part of London.
Wow.
Very, very, very expensive. Well, yeah, she's definitely wealthy, Edgar.
Now, do we have an understanding of whether she's a friend or foe?
I
Doctor
don't.
That's
Gross.
that's for you to decide.
Yeah, I'm asking Dr. Gross's
Yes, you're asking me.
opinion.
Right. Yeah, sorry, Edgar. I thought I've been having these bouts of weirdness recently. It's driving me a bit cuckoo.
Yes, are you quite all right? You were laughing maniacally that just the other night.
Oh, it was just an episode, that's all. So what were you asking? Do you think whether I think she's friend or foe? I don't know. This all seems to it's all connecting to each other, and if you were in her shoes and ended up like how she is, I don't know why people would do this kind of modification. Oh, well, I can understand people who fought and got injuries and things like that, but a beautiful woman resorting to this, I've, a woman scorned and all that. I feel there might be more to her, and I don't trust her, so I don't think she's neither friend or foe at the minute. I think she's a in between, an enigma for now until we learn more.
Well, this is
I
what
would.
we do know. We know that Aurora got into an altercation with
Hmm.
William Whitaker, whose hotel had caught fire and scorched
Yes.
her. And then she went for surgery,
Hmm.
and the surgeon ended up dead.
Indeed.
Dunbar is the person who processed the court files and court proceedings, and we don't know if Dunbar's dead or not. Well, he's alive, but we know he was a target. I hope he's going to be all
Yes.
right.
Yes, I hope so too. It's just it's all connected to her. I would definitely like to say she's more on the foe scale. She's as I said, she's still in the middle,
Well,
but
why would she be a foe, right? If do you think she's targeting people
get the
that are helping her? Because the surgeon helped her, and Dunbar, I'm assuming, helped her.
yes. I just when you get into things like this, you don't know whether what you're actually seeing is real or not. You don't know if there's a cover up. When things happen, especially mistakes like how her face is. Well, I'd like to think it was a mistake,
Well,
going by what
looking at
we're
her
seeing.
files, are we under the impression that the plastic surgeon did a shoddy job or an incredible job?
By the standards of today, as it is for you in
Mhm.
the early 1940s, but for her it will be the when the surgery was done, it was the mid to late 30s. It was absolutely outstanding for the time
Standing
for
for that
that
time.
period.
Right.
The fact that the surgeon was able to give her back her features to the degree he did is unparalleled. He is an expert at was an expert at what he did.
So that
But
leads me to the conclusion that, like, why would she try and do the surgeon harm then? So I think we need to get into contact with Aurora at some point or the other once we regroup with our friends.
Yes, that's definitely the next port of call. But I don't know. I feel you're a PI. I'm not into this. Well, I like my occult and things like that.
Well, there's definitely an occult
But
angle here.
well, there is. But
We
I just want to
saw
leave
living
her.
fire.
I saw more than that, but yes. Um, I just she's in that middle. I don't know. There's something about it. Um, we'll see, but we definitely need to talk to her or someone in her circle. But
Right. There's only one way to find out.
there's just that niggling feeling there's something more to it.
all right, if you're going to try and meet up with the others, you're going to
Yes.
say for sake of ease, head down to Dunbar's office where you know they were waiting to go into a meeting with him.
Yes, and we can probably see the fire, the smoke in the distance, and the fire brigade.
Yeah,
That was
That's not too
there's a
good.
couple of fire trucks down on the street outside, which are hosing the office from the outside, pointing up at the the first floor window, at which point there's, say, lots of water, plenty of bystanders on the other side of the road, but they're being kept at bay from getting too close. And you'll find Davidge, Harris, and Leland having been evacuated from the building by the fire brigade once they've gone inside as well to try and tackle this like a pincer movement from both sides. So you were able to find a nice quiet area away from everyone else, maybe a little bit further down the street, because again there's like a gaggle that are all a bit further close to the building. You can just take a little bit of a walk and you've got plenty of privacy to discuss stuff out. It's still in the open, but you've got a bit of privacy.
What is going on?
Now, we figured that we would have to talk to the police.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that will definitely happen at some point, but there are
Right.
plenty of people here that you've got the fire brigade, which are trying to deal with this. The police will be dealing with, let's say, some of the other employees which were leaving the building at this point. That you are basically in line. They haven't quite got round to dealing with you yet, so you have a little bit of time to discuss stuff.
How many stories is the building that the law office is in?
3. So this was a middle floor.
Right. So they're still dealing with evacuating from the third floor and any number of matters. Yeah.
Probably still putting out the fire.
No, actively.
Although, yeah, they are still trying to hose it, so it's going to take a little while to get this under control.
I don't suppose this is a coincidence.
No, it was not. Are we all together now?
Yes.
You can be all together.
I wasn't quite sure what happened. It happened so quickly, but
So there was a very suspicious fellow who made an appointment with Dunbar today, who called himself John Smith of all things. He was the blandest looking son of a bitch I've ever seen.
John Smith.
John Smith.
It's a very
I think I've heard of him.
conspicuous name.
Carrying an umbrella in this weather. David, you chatted with him a bit. He seemed a bit rum, yes?
well, I don't know. He seemed odd just because he was there. It's odd. It's like nothing in particular stood out about the man. Like he was cloaked in blandness. He wasn't interesting at all. He had a small, short meeting. I eavesdropped a bit, which was very clever, but their discussion seemed inane, unimportant. And then when he left, we went in, and we warned Mr. Dunbar, and then there was the glass in the window behind him exploded, and suddenly his chair and he himself were engulfed in flames. And I was pushed back. I yelled for Melvin, and I threw my jacket over my head. It's the second jacket that I've destroyed this week, thanks to fire. And I ran out the door. I alerted them that there was a fire, and I pulled the fire alarm. Melvin stayed inside. But what did you see, Melvin, when you were inside?
So I went back in with the fire extinguisher to try to save Dunbar, to save the office as well, for that matter. And the man was in extraordinary agony, managed to put the fire out where it burnt him, and then this sprite of flame shot back into him, and he went up again like a Roman candle. The damn thing hovered in the air, and I could swear it looked at me with malevolence.
He was chosen.
It set the whole apartment, the whole office on fire with a rapidity that, unless the place had been doused with kerosene beforehand, it couldn't have gone up so quickly. I've never seen anything like.
It was definitely supernatural.
The living star got him.
But
We're not
star?
going
to tell the police that.
Oh, we're not going to go to the asylum. What star did you say, Gross?
No, I didn't say anything, Melvin. Sorry. You must have misheard me.
And putting that together with the stuff that you just told us, it sounds like more and more like this woman you've mentioned is getting revenge on people by burning them alive. They wanted to burn him alive last night,
That's my take on it as well. I
so
don't
they burned him
trust.
alive today.
So do you suppose that this John Smith was in league with the fellows that you burned up in the garden last night?
So, so obviously, this John Smith is an ordinary man, bland as whatever. He had the blandest conversation in the world. To me, that just screams there's some a motive of some kind. Maybe he was there to give. Let let's just say this is a hit of some kind, because we've had two in the space of whatever, and maybe it was to make sure it was clear for whatever to happen. Or maybe this is an ally because me and Edgar, we seemingly have a friend because we managed to get into the office in no problem. The police had said they were expecting us or something and able to
Someone
go
opened
in.
the door for us practically.
Well,
So,
and didn't you just tell us that there was a note on the file
That's correct.
yes,
telling you that this is what you should? It's like somebody's leading you
yes.
to it.
Well, did you identify yourselves? Or were
We
they
didn't really get a
someone else?
we didn't really get a chance to speak. It was almost like it was open to us on a platter.
That's correct.
So perhaps they were expecting another party altogether, and when you showed up unexpectedly, you
No, it
I
was
don't
it was a
think.
fabrication. The police
Yes,
don't do that.
I think this is. It's not just a coincidence. I think there's more to play at this, and we have become pawns in this game of chess.
Well,
I'll be a bishop at the very least. Thank you very much, Dr. Gross.
the thing is, now let's look at it from a completely outside objective point of view. Mr. Smith, Mr. John Smith. We're assuming that's not his name, but there are definitely people who are named John Smith in the world.
Yes.
He made an appointment earlier in the day. Fortunately, he got there before I did, so he got the sooner appointment, but it was still towards the end of the day. He seemed very bland. He went inside, had like I say, a rather inane conversation with the man, and then he left. Now, if he was just an innocent, unimportant bystander, I think that it would look exactly the same as it did look. He was just an innocent bystander. He might be nobody. Because if somebody had the power to call down sentient fire, as you're describing, it came through the window. Why would he need to be there at all?
Why did they put that altar stone
Oh,
into?
there's definitely somebody who wanted him dead, but
Yes.
it
Yes,
might not have been John Smith.
perhaps John Smith had a miniature altar stone and he chucked it under the desk while he was talking about employment contracts.
That's a
Exactly.
possibility, and the evidence would be gone, wouldn't it, because of a
Or
fire? So,
I would just
John
say be
Smith
careful.
wanted to confirm that Dunbar was going to be in his office at that exact time and
Or-
place
indeed.
Or
while he
John
talks to
Dunbar,
sentient fire.
or John Dunbar is completely unrelated to this at all.
Joseph
Dunbar?
Dunbar, unrelated?
No, I'm sorry, John
John
Smith.
Smith.
John Smith, yes.
You
Well,
could have ascertained that he was in his office from the building across the street.
Indeed. That, or maybe John Smith was there for a different reason, but
I actually don't recall what the conversation was at this point.
Did you get his
but
card?
Actually, did I get his card? Did I exchange cards with him? It might be something that I would have done.
You talked about occultism with him, you mentioned. So you might
Yeah.
have exchanged some data.
It would have been the polite thing to do.
Yeah, he wouldn't have given you a card though. However, you can give me an idea roll.
John Smith. What a name. Definitely not common at all.
61, that is a regular pass.
Okay. And I think Also, Gross and Angrave, either of you can give me an idea roll as well.
Yes, let's give this a go.
He'll certainly have had to give Miss Davis a card or
Hmm.
something of the kind, but
God,
it
what
would
is...
not survive.
I got a hard.
It's when Melvin says that it's definitely Angrave with a hard. This little light bulb comes on above you. Above
I
your
got
head.
an extreme, by the way.
There you go. And go gross. It's a bigger light bulb. It just shines a bit brighter. You suddenly think that, particularly Gross and Angrave, suddenly remember, hang on a minute, the lady who came out from the office opposite Chamberlain said that a Detective Smith had been by and told her that you were going to be coming by. Also, then you think, well, hang on a minute, we've got this handwritten note that was in Aurora's file, and Melvin knows that he would have had to sign into the office to say he'd arrived. You've got two sets of handwriting comparisons. You can see if there is physical evidence to see if it is the same guy.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't. That didn't even out of I didn't even catch the detective. She said his name.
He did.
Oh no!
Very
Damn.
nice. Well,
was...
I do have a base forgery. I mean, I have above base forgery at 30, so I think I should be able to recognize if the two are the same.
Yeah. Yeah, you just need access to the. You just need to get back in the building and have a look at the.
Well, the building's still on fire.
That section of it is on fire, but not the. Not
Oh, the sign in. You're right.
Yeah.
Another thing is that if this guy did leave some sort of evidence in there and it was a rock, it doesn't matter how much you burn a rock, you can burn a rock forever and it'll still be there.
But it could end up being at the bottom of smoking rubble 10 feet down.
Well, the fire is not going to destroy the entire building, luckily, in this case. It probably would have in Teresa's house.
Marble has a particularly high temperature before it starts to break down. Just a normal, well, I say a normal fire like this wouldn't produce enough heat to be able to break it down. You would have the problem that it'll be under a ton of rubble. It's going to be collapsed pieces of broken furniture underneath it. There's all the water damage caused by the fire brigade. But at least from what Davidge and Melvin saw of the scene as it unfolded, you certainly don't recall seeing anything that odd being like thrown under the floor. I mean, it could have been under his desk for all you know, if it was even there, but you didn't notice anything like that.
Did you notice that he had a briefcase walking in?
He had an umbrella instead.
An umbrella.
In this weather.
Did he leave his umbrella? Did he come out with the same umbrella?
I believe he did, because it caught my attention. He also he made the appointment somewhat late in the day, got the last spot, and then he went out and sat in the car and watched the building for a bit before he went away. So all in all, he behaved peculiarly.
I don't trust this John Smith at all.
And if your detective is also named Smith, well, it is a common name. I think we have a decent hypothesis to test.
How crowded is the front entrance where the sign-in sheet is?
I think it would be possible to get in there. You'd be seen doing it. You'd be going almost pushing past a couple of police officers. You'd still have to get round the fire brigade, which are up there. But it would be possible, assuming that no one tries to stop you.
I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna push around my my clout technically as a previous ex-police officer. So if you'd like, I could roll law.
I'd buy either law, persuade, or credit rating. Any of those three to be able.
I think you're gonna get law today.
Well, also, it's the office in which I work.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I can say I urgently need to go back and retrieve a couple of things now that things are under control. And this investigator will assist me. Will just be a moment.
Yeah. For your assistance, I'll give Angrave a bonus die on your roll to try and get up.
Great. Love the bonus die. Love it. 90. And then and then 100. Woo!
So at the minute, the police are kind of looking at you going, we understand that there's obviously sensitive information up there. We obviously know that Mr. Melvin here is a person we need to speak to. because we're obviously seen as a weakness. But we're not going to be able to let anyone through for at least like an hour or so, because this is like an active well, partly we're not too sure if we can call it a crime scene, but definitely a hazard is up there. It is an active fire. So yeah, for your own good and for your own safety, they are saying, yeah, do not go into kind of into the building that's burning. That's not such a good
Well,
idea.
what if I push it?
You can attempt to if you wish.
Or maybe Melvin has the key to the back door.
I'm sure I have keys, but didn't you say that they're spraying from both sides?
Yeah.
They're going from the inside and from the outside, so
Yeah.
there is a group which are already in there as well.
I think I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna say I'm gonna do my duty as Good Samaritan and ex-law officer to find people still in the building and get them out.
Okay, roll it.
Watch me fail. No, we're good. We're good. 46 out of 50.
Okay,
Oh.
you lean on the public duty, and at which point they say, "Well, yeah, it's kind of our job to protect and serve." Although I'm pretty sure that's a motto from somewhere else in the world at this point. Yeah, well, come on, we'll let you through. And they quickly usher you through, but under the basis that, for God's sake, hurry up and don't get yourself burnt. It's too much paperwork to say how a civilian got himself burnt in here.
All right, let's do our thing, Melvin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Melvin knows exactly where he's going, so you head straight up there, past the fire hoses coming in, the water hoses coming in. You see down the corridor these two firemen holding this thing back as they're trying to spray upwards and trying to then let water drop down onto the fire, trying to
And
trying to
while
put the
I'm
ceiling out.
walking by these firemen, what kind of gear do they have? They have fire-resistant clothing, correct?
This is the 1940. It's not
Yeah,
that
so they might.
great. Yeah.
That
Because I'm thinking
top-notch
about
asbestos.
how to get some for ourselves in the future, should we have to deal with living balls of fire.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, there are certain industries which would be would better if you can find someone that does, say, like a furnace work, so like a blacksmith's, for example.
Yeah.
Something like that would be the easiest place to go to get that kind of specialist gear.
And I'm sure Dr. Gross would happily pay for some supplies that will keep us all alive.
Money. But yeah, you can get an idea of the kind of stuff they're wearing, so it would give you an idea to build a shopping list for stuff.
Yeah,
for stuff
I'm making
later.
a mental note.
Yeah, all right. And you can say you can easily get the book that was still sat on the front desk. It kind of been knocked to one side, but it's still there, and you can then retreat at your leisure to compare the notes outside, the notes that you've got, and the book outside. With Angrave having forgery, I'm not going to make you roll for it. It's the same handwriting. The note and the signing was made by the same person.
Okay. And on the way down, because you mentioned that this was on the second floor, right? The offices.
Yeah, it's the American second floor, English first floor.
I would absolutely love to get the fire extinguisher a floor down for my own personal uses.
I don't think anyone is going to object
Yep.
to you walking away with one. Yep, you have a fire extinguisher.
Right, and I'll toss it in the car once we're out of the building.
All right, as you're going off to the car, that's when a couple of officers come over towards, or constables come over towards Green, Harris, and Leland, and we can go montage through this. They will essentially just ask you a series of questions to give a statement as to kind of why you were there, what happened. What do you tell them? Do you tell them the truth that, hey, a fireball came through the window and killed the guy, or are you trying to put some kind of less crazy or less unbelievable explanation on this?
Green and I have been conversing about this, of course, and it makes sense that no, we do not mention that fireball shot through and immolated him. We do. So there was a fellow who made an appointment today who went in just before, who seemed a little peculiar. But we were there because we had we had an appointment with Dunbar to stay after a few minutes to discuss, well, inter-office matters to a great extent. And shortly after we'd entered the door, there was some sort of pop or bang. Would you say it was a pop or a bang, Green?
Well, the window shattered. So it was like something came through the window, and then suddenly his chair and he himself burst into flame. And I
It was it was as though I suspect there might be some sort of arson involved because the place went up with astonishing speed. I fetched the fire extinguisher and attempted what I could and couldn't keep up with the thing. And Dunbar was lost in no time at all, the poor man.
we do think he was the target, perhaps of some sort of bomb or accelerant or something thrown through the window.
Yeah, the constables at that point do try to focus in on that moment of in their questioning. Can you describe the window? Did it shatter and then the flame erupted, or was it a case of that something hit the window and then it burst into flame outside? They're trying to ascertain whether it was a Molotov or whether it was like an incendiary grenade. It sounds like they're trying to do.
We were in the middle of our conversation, and the glass shattered, and then it was almost like a fan of flame behind his chair, and then he burst into flame, like something came and set like a ball of fire all around him, like an accelerant, alcohol or petrol or something. And then it splashed and went everywhere in the room. I dove out the door. And then Melvin tried to extinguish it with the fire extinguisher. I pulled the thingy on the wall and yelled for fire.
I've worked with Mr. Dunbar for quite a number of years. He deserved better than whatever happened.
I mean, I just feel it necessary to add, to get ahead of things, that Mr. Dunbar was targeted before, and we were the ones who prevented his unfortunate death by arson just a few days ago. That's how I got. Yeah.
Well, last night. Yeah.
It was last night.
Yeah. In which case, because these are just like beat constables, they wouldn't have heard about that. So you say that, and that's kind of suddenly, again, eyes open wide, and they're going, "What?" And that will open up a whole nother level of questioning where they will ask you to go over details about that. So again, what kind of stuff do you tell them about the potential attack on Dunbar last night?
Well, now we have to ask for the police's discretion in discussing that matter, because Mr. Dunbar, we don't know what Mr. Dunbar's marital status is.
He is single.
Okay. Oh, we'd rather speak to a detective or somebody. It gets rather complicated at this point.
As you said that, can I have a group luck roll? So whoever has the lowest luck.
What's my luck? We're going to have to tell him the guy was having an affair. I got 65.
Okay.
51. Leland.
Oh, mine is above 51, so we're good.
All right.
Like it's Melvin.
And that's a failure. 61.
Okay, fair enough. In which case, yeah, you can ask for a detective. That's obviously not a problem. They will call for one to come down, because it sounds like this has suddenly got above a constable's pay grade. It just means that you're going to be tied up in a few more rounds of questions while they try to link these two, what were at this point fairly disparate investigations, two disparate cases together, because there is now suddenly a common link that they weren't aware of.
Well, I've put
Thank
my
you,
foot in my
Leland.
mouth, haven't I?
We'd forgotten about that part. Thank you, Leland, for reminding us.
I think then that's probably safe to say that that's going to take up most of the remainder of the evening.
Yeah.
They will ask for all of you to come down because you're saying you were all involved in this last night. They're going to want you to go down to the local police station, which is obviously when blackout will happen because say sunsets and so on. You're not going to be getting out until after dark, and it's going to be probably 10, 11 o'clock by the time you get out. It's going to have been a very long day for you.
I was actually at home last night.
Yeah, you weren't involved. Well,
Yes,
if I don't mention that I was at home with Teresa, perhaps
you weren't at Teresa's, but you were here today, so they're still going to go through everything, and the fact that know all of these guys by extension.
I'm not going to mention any supernatural, but the basic story is going to be that Miss Teresa had seen people around her home who had seen people.
You have to ask her questions now. Good gracious.
I'm going to, well, not necessarily. I'm going to say that she saw people around her home where her neighbors. And we came to check it out. And we caught two of the blighters on the property trying to set the building on fire. And the reason why they were doing that is because Miss Teresa is apparently having a delicate situation. She's been dallying with Mr. Dunbar. That's why we want to talk to the detective, because he can at least be discreet. And fortunately, he wasn't there, nor was she. And they had an accelerant, and poor Mr. Leland was caught on fire, and they ended up blowing each other. Now, you'll have a police record of this because the police did get there.
Yeah.
So we decided to come today and just warn Mr. Dunbar that somebody might be trying to do something to him. We didn't expect that they would try to blow him up in his office.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. As you're giving this spiel, you'll be giving this to a Detective Drake, who is down at the local police station.
And I'm going to put admonishment in my voice because Miss Teresa tried multiple times to get the police to do something, and they did nothing. So we took it into our own hands. Yeah.
Yeah, so this again probably is why this takes a bit of time, is that they will be going through contacting the local police station to Teresa, trying to find out why the hell have you done this? Why do you need to take this seriously? And then repeatedly going through this story with you for both that incident last night and this afternoon with all of you. But it's about 10 o'clock when midway through going through this in the same room, that there is a knock at the door and Drake is called out, leaving you alone in this, not the interrogation room, it's more of a meeting room. It's not that officious. But he comes back in with this kind of slightly surprised look on his face and just kind of folds up his notes, puts them in a folder, and says, I think we're about done. And he was midway through questioning you, and now he's just saying, you're done. You're free to go.
Okay,
I am.
well, I know this is not normal.
Hell no, this is ringing all kinds of not necessarily alarm bells, but in fact, Edgar can give me either an education or int roll.
Okay.
Oh, I got an 04 in my education.
I passed.
This reeks of someone higher up has just pulled strings and basically said, leave these people the hell alone.
Yep, it's happened to me before too. So.
Yeah, Drake just gathers his paperwork and says, I can show you to the exit, obviously, if you like. Remember that obviously going home, blackout precautions are still in effect. Don't have any lights, and I hope you get home safely.
This is Investigator Drake.
Yes,
Detective Drake, yes.
Detective Drake.
You've been speaking with him for a few hours now, but yeah, for him to just suddenly stop like this and to let you go is, yeah,
Can I be the last
Edgar's.
one out of the door? Because I definitely want to talk to Detective Drake and
Well,
try and pull on my occupation once more and say,
I
hey, give us the name. We're
Mhm.
trying to do the right thing here of who told you to stop.
Ooh.
well, and as I'm doing it too, I want to hand him my card and give him a look like, you know, sure
Yeah.
you want to not question us anymore?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna lean on, hey, I was also a Lobin as well, so
right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it would take a roll to get him to say, but he looks at you and just nods and says, "This came from the top of Scotland Yard to say that you're to head out of here."
oh my God. All right, then we'll just leave. No more
Good
questions
evening,
for Drake because he's pretty shocked. I'm pretty shocked.
Edgar. What do you think that's all about?
Fingers are getting pointed more and more at this Aurora girl as well as this Whitaker, because they're both very rich and wealthy and powerful. But I
You
think
know, your
Aurora is more powerful in
your
terms
your
of
way was paved this afternoon for you to find the
by a
information,
Smith. But why would
and
he help us and also set someone on fire?
well, like I say, we
Unless
don't
they
know
weren't
that he was
involved, yeah.
involved in the fire, but somebody wants us to figure out what's going on.
Does Smith work for Aurora? We
I don't
need to
know.
we need to keep asking
More
questions.
investigation.
Yes.
I'm hoping this Mr. Drake might. I was quite rude and mean to him, but at the same time, he seems
Oh, he's
a
used to it.
capable investigator.
So
Go find the others.
I managed to nab a fire extinguisher from the office building and it's in my vehicle right now. I suggest that we get more fire extinguishers and also pick up some fire resistant clothing should we not want to have burns for the rest of our lives.
Hmm.
Not
I'm not
fun.
sure. I'm not sure what firemen had available to them. I think mostly leather at this point because
They definitely had fire resistant clothing. It's the 1940s.
Mhm. Certainly not to the degree we have it today,
Right.
but they would
right.
be, I'd say, um,
I think there
like
were big
wood and
sleeps
yeah.
after World War II in fire resistant stuff.
I believe that theater curtains are already made out of asbestos,
Well, that's
a
true.
new
There is
wonder material.
asbestos.
That won't harm you. Mm.
Nothing safer than some soft asbestos clothing. We could all have suits made.
Oh,
Rather
you know what
itchy.
they would have?
That sounds quite delightful.
They would have probably used wool as well because wool doesn't catch fire very easily.
Especially if it's damp.
Right.
Mm. I
All
love the
right.
thought of wearing damp clothes.
Till the water boils on your skin, then.
Then you get unlucky.
It has been, as mentioned a couple of times, unseasonably warm this time of year. So maybe wearing something, as long as it's nice and cool and damp, might actually be vaguely refreshing to take you off the heat.
Where shall we go? Back to
Well,
my
it is
place?
quite late and all the lights are off because of
You can all come back to my big mansion.
yes,
Yeah.
let's check how Teresa's doing as well. She's probably worried sick that you haven't come home, Melvin. Or she's been
Well,
picked up by the police.
she was talked to by the police. My guess is when they told them to let us go, they let her go without.
Right.
She'd be back where Melvin left her.
Yes, we could go around mine then, since Teresa's already there.
Mhm.
All right.
I'm
That is
dying for
true.
some sandwiches and I think a large port.
I'll join you there.
And let us all remember that we have failed miserably. We didn't save the man's life.
We
That is
failed.
true.
Dr. Gross and I were doing research.
Yes,
Yes, you
we
actually
were.
succeeded quite well.
Well, and to the point,
Yes,
it was Teresa who came to us for help, not Dunbar. And frankly,
and
Dunbar's a bit of a cad.
just
Not,
bear in mind, I don't think you were saving Dunbar.
Oh, still, the death of any man diminishes us. So,
I've known him for 18 years, and I saw his skin boil off. Yes,
Well, when
very
we
large boil.
embrace
so
when we
now
embrace the fiery star, you learn to.
uh,
Melvin,
do
what are you
we,
gonna do for your job?
Ah.
You're now unemployed.
You
No,
can.
the office will be reconfigured. I'm not a
I'll move
partner,
it.
so I won't be in control of that. But
You
we'll
can
also.
come and work for me, Melvin.
Ooh,
So,
if you keep talking about fiery stars, I think I'll keep well clear.
well, we've seen a lot of little pieces of evidence that shows to somebody using black magic or fire magic. Was that magic? Was it fire magic? It's
From the
been twice
gods.
now.
I mean, it was living flame.
You know,
It
Dr.
regarded.
Gross, instead of saying cryptic things, tell us what you think.
What do I think? I think.
Well, there is something you might think, being an occultist.
Mhm.
But looking at our chat, we have a request for a break. Can we take a few minutes?
Oh, sure.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
Right, after that quick commercial break for fire extinguishers, we'll do a quick roll on occult for George and for Davidge as our two occultly inclined individuals, following that something that Davidge said.
54 out of 70 irregulars.
I got a 4. Is that my second 4 of the evening, I think?
Oh, so that's an extreme, I'd hope then. With
Yeah.
Right. Well, obviously George then, when Davidge makes that kind of offhand comment of fire magic, that yeah, it's definitely, there's plenty of instances that you can think of about fire magic, that there's symbol of people worshipping flame and so on. But the thing that comes to mind straight for Davidge, almost pretty much as soon as it comes out of your mouth about fire magic, pyromancy. That there is this is one that even goes back to reference that it is name checked in the Bible. I believe it's in the book of Leviticus, where it is one of the 7 forbidden arts, where basically the canon law says that it is forbidden to practice various different types of mancies. So whether it be necromancy, the bizarrely named spatulamancy, which is not as it sounds. It isn't like divination via kitchen utensils; it's via bones. But also things like necromancy, talking with spirits. They're all ways of divination. And
right.
that you are aware of. Pyromancy is definitely a thing.
Yeah. Controlling fire with your mind. So it would imply that somebody outside the building could be controlling the fire from that particular point of view. But Melvin, you seem to feel as if the fire itself was thinking or angry or exuding some sort of an emotion, which is very strange.
Isn't correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't pyromancy meant to predict the future?
Well, yes, usually.
Well, then, future prediction. Maybe that's why they're. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense, though.
In this context, they're controlling fire to cause damage. It's almost like maybe pyrokinesis.
Yes.
We resumed this conversation having gone back to my flat. Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
And we found Teresa in what condition? State or?
She'd probably be asleep at this point upstairs. So she's had a trying, well, several days at this point, let's say a
Right.
whole week. So she is still on, not quite on the verge of physical exhaustion, but she'll be in a comfortable, natural sleep upstairs where you could probably dismantle the house around her and she'd still be asleep.
Fair enough. But she's not missing and she's not frightened and the police didn't harass her to death and so on.
No, not at all. You can probably even hear her snoring upstairs. Not that you'd ever tell her that she snores, but
Fair enough. Yeah, so gentlemen, I wasn't with you last night. I didn't see what you saw. What I saw today was something like a little living white hot flame that seemed to move with intentionality. Did you see anything like that last night?
Oh, one of us did. I can't remember. I don't
Yes,
Yes,
I think I saw an orb like that drop down near the gasoline can. Drop from the
and
sky.
and Dr. Gross has been saying that he saw something in the sky.
yes, a living star.
How would you go about ascertaining the star was alive?
I could see it moving. It was definitely alive. And I don't
I
say
didn't
it was
see
a
anything like
star.
that.
It was just fire. It's like God staring down at us, passing his judgment.
Quite frankly, Melvin, Dr. Gross has been acting a little different ever since he's seen that.
Yes, more port, anyone?
Yes, please.
Yes, come
With
on.
pleasure.
So, if we think that this conflict between Aurora and Whitaker is the foundation of this business, do we think that now that the plastic surgeon and his lawyer have been immolated, that it's done? Or do we think that there's further mayhem to come?
Maybe we're looking at this wrong. Maybe Aurora isn't the problem. Maybe Aurora is next on the list of people going to burn to death, and we
So
need to
it's
talk to
Whitaker?
her. Yes. Because I don't see a reason why Aurora would burn to death her plastic surgeon who did an incredible job.
Well, he did a remarkable job of sculpting her face, but if she can't move it and she's ashamed to be seen in public, she might still be rather cross.
Yes,
But it wouldn't be
reckon
his
some-
fault
Yeah, it wouldn't be his fault.
unless she's mad. And I
Well,
mean,
if she's mad, then it's just the blind fury that she's lashing out at everyone. But then why meticulously attack the people who are helping you? Because
And
this is planned.
well, it certainly can't be a coincidence that we determined that the attack at Teresa's was on Dunbar and then they struck more directly the next day.
Right. We need to get and we need to talk to Aurora as soon as possible. That's what I feel like we need to do. Because she might not have enough like for long.
And what if should we not talk to Whitaker also? If he's, I mean, if she blames her plastic surgeon and the lawyer, presumably she blames the man that she sued in the first place.
Well, we'll get her opinion on that from herself.
So you think she used pyromancy to burn people up, and then we'll chat with her and she'll say, "Oh yes, I'm planning to get Whitaker next."
I don't think that she used pyromancy. That's the thing.
Well, somebody has been using
something.
unnatural means.
Right. We're not going to mention any of that. We just want her motives for and how what she thinks of the situation and the people that she has been involved with in the past.
What excuse do we have for questioning her, though?
That is a good point.
I'd
Oh,
say try to find enough connections.
well, we
See
can
if
simply
there's
say that we think she's next in a string of arsons and that she should be careful.
that could be like poking the bear inside of its den.
Well, maybe that's exactly what we have to do in order to get
Mm,
results.
I mean,
What
we'll
results are
all
we after precisely?
I want to see how she reacts to the information, and I want to try and read her.
Yeah,
And should we poke at the right spots, then she'll come to trust us and give us more information. It's free for us to
what if
ask.
what if we trace all of the connections between these people first and then maybe come up with a hypothesis as to what might be going on?
I don't think we
Then
have the full picture.
we'll know who to poke.
Well, one thing I'd like to know is
Oh, Jesus,
you say it's an
Leland.
altar in the basement. The most pertinent thing, the thing that's driving me mad, is what were they sacrificing to? And
What if it's not
since
an
they're
altar?
well, I mean, I'm just going off of what seems to be the common wisdom.
What if it's the thing that the fireball wants to go to?
Could be.
you, as an occultist, you've described it as rather an altar, and there was traces of blood on it. I
Well,
believe we determined it was human blood. Maybe it's the thing the fire wants to go to, in which case you probably do not want to keep it under a tarpaulin in your garden.
well, if it burns a tarpaulin, I don't care. But
If that thing comes down and strikes the tarpaulin in your back garden, do you think your house is going to be very well off?
it's not anywhere near my house.
Oh,
It's
you keep your
on
garden very
cement.
far from your house.
Well, it's actually on the cement
The thing
patio.
bounces around. It set
Um,
his entire office on fire in less than 20 seconds. I mean, if you're sanguine about it, well, oh well and good for you, but I wouldn't keep the thing.
so far, we haven't been targeted. I'm thinking of esoteric magic stuff like the Key of Solomon and so forth, drawing circles and triangles on the ground and then using them to summon demons. The triangle trapping or the demon in place. The
And the triangle,
circle.
remember, is a alchemical symbol for fire, so that you've got a direct correspondence there that would imply a use for it. Yes.
We didn't see any writing on it. If it had the tetragrammaton and so forth on there, there's nothing like that.
No.
Well, we don't know what it's for, but somebody's using fire to attack. And they're trying to attack these people for some reason. Somebody wanted them dead.
And so far, we've learned that there are 4 players, Aurora and Whitaker, and the 2 dead men. When there's a 5th mysterious party, this Smith, who seemed to have targeted Dunbar, but assisted you in learning about Aurora.
Right.
Which
I don't think he's an enemy then.
Well, he's an enemy of Dunbar's, I dare say.
Why do you think that though? Right? Because why would he help us get in contact and find information about Aurora?
Well, why, if he's a fake detective and a fake businessman, did he make an urgent appointment to see Dunbar about 30 seconds before something slammed through into Dunbar's office and burst into violent flame?
What if he's another
we don't know yet.
investigator like us trying to figure things out?
Well, he's not
Maybe
very
he's honest.
team-spirited then. What if it's Whitaker which is behind the thing, and so he used the information at the doctor's office to point toward Aurora?
Then we still need to ask Aurora herself and to gauge her out. So that's why I want to see her as soon as possible, maybe in the morning.
Well, you're not going to like me saying this, but if you do that, which it might be a good move, we don't want to be with you, because if you
That's
are
fine by
targeted,
me.
then at least we'll know.
If I burn to death tomorrow, knock on wood, you know who to go after.
I want
Perhaps
to
you
be
could
with.
send
I want to go
Leland.
with you, to be honest.
Well, then you can
I
come with me, Dr. Gross.
I also want to come with you because, God damn it, You saved my life from burning. I owe you one.
And you and Aura have something in common that might help her.
That is a good point.
Yeah, well,
You know, I'd do
Yeah.
the same for you, John.
I will not out of cowardice, but I will stand back and assess the damage if there is any. Hopefully, you'll be on the right track.
Then maybe you two can investigate Whitaker.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I dare say that I shan't be busy tomorrow at Dunbar and Associates.
I mean, if you have any skill with drugs, I could hire you at the pharmacy, but I doubt it.
Oh, I don't mean that I'm out of a job. I just mean that I think the office is going to be closed for the time being.
Little while.
And since I was the one who did the most to put the fire out, I don't think that the partners are going to give me any bother at all about taking a few days for myself.
Well, it sounds like we have a plan then.
They'll be doing restructuring for a while, so yeah, you don't have to worry about the day job for a bit. But indeed, as Edgar says, it seems like you have a plan. So, if everyone's happy, we can fast forward to tomorrow morning, and then you can divide and conquer, unless there's anything else you want to do overnight.
I don't think we can procure more fire extinguishers and wool armor
Well,
in the middle of the night when nothing is open. So
Yeah, bit difficult in the evening.
but when it comes to getting things that people want, Gross will pay. As he kind of has more
Nice.
money than sense.
I will
right.
say that yes, glass blowing establishments must have some very good asbestos gloves and things that will be light and not full body kit, but helpful.
We're
Similar
in
to what I mentioned about blacksmiths, that they would have big, heavy gauntlets to help with pulling brands out of furnaces and whatever the thing's called. But yes,
Yeah, and you just need to borrow them or rent them. You don't need to buy. Till we get to the bottom of this.
Hmm.
That way it looks even less suspicious.
Right. Well, it sounds like if you're going on a bit of a procurement run first before you're going anywhere else, who wants to give me a credit rating roll to see what amount you can procure?
George, aren't you the one with the money?
We all
He's in
look at
stunned
Gross.
silence as well.
It should probably be me.
I'm sure as hell not paying.
Okay, let's go.
Credit what?
Well, I got an O2, so
Wow.
With it being that low, I'd say you can buy equipment for all five of you. Then I'm not going to put any restrictions on a roll that good. So yeah, you can consider yourself having brought effectively full body covering. So there's things like leather gauntlets, big thick woolen clothing. Again, maybe even with leather padding around various parts of it as well, leather coverings over that. This will count as fire retardant armor. So if you get hit with, let's say, a ball of flame wants to decide it's going to touch you and share its big, happy, warm glow, you will have an armor rating against that.
Ooh. We
This
look
should
like
keep us safe for 2 seconds before it burns its way through.
maybe that 2 seconds will be all
Maybe.
that matters.
Might be all you need. Yeah. But we'll say that doesn't take, with again that good a roll, that George knows, maybe suddenly has a brainwave overnight thinking, I know someone who I can call for that.
Yeah.
And that you think of glass blowing, you think of blacksmiths, and there's a couple of places that you can ring up. You can have that done and arranged for stuff to be dropped off at your place by midday. So that still gives you the morning to be able to go and do what you want to do. Or if you want to be paranoid and wait, then you can turn up at Aurora's place wearing full fire retardant clothing. That's completely up to you.
I'm assuming we also got fire extinguishers as well ordered.
Oh, easy enough. Yeah.
All right. I feel like we should just talk to Aurora right away.
Okay, so
For those of us who are going, and I don't know the plan for Whitaker.
we'll do Edgar, George, and John going to see Aurora first of all. and then we'll go over to Davidge and Melvin to go to the hotel over in Chelsea, the Riverside Hotel, which is where Whittaker's offices are. So, for Edgar, John, and George, then, Greenwich is lovely this time of year. Particularly where you're going is one of the most picturesque parts of London. You've got the hill that goes up towards the Royal Observatory, and the road around here. There are just these incredibly large, expensive kind of manor house, townhouse affairs that have usually like a couple of steps that lead up to a large door, and then the sidewalk or the pavement, and then out to the street. So they are grand affairs, but they are right on the kind of right on the street with this wonderful view on the other side of the road. And yeah, you find the address that you remember having seen for Aurora. Great big door. It's a 3-story building. Stretches out left and right, takes up a large part of the block. You can see plenty of windows, lots of curtains drawn. It looks like they haven't really bothered undrawing them yet from the blackout precautions from the previous night. But you can maybe see that a couple, maybe one or two of them start to be drawn. So you get the impression there are people inside. And so you have this big black massive door with a pull bell outside. It even has a little slit that it can open up rather than having the door open up. It would open inward, so rather than open it to see who it is, they can just have this little mail slit that opens up.
Opening inward, that's a fire hazard.
That's quite normal for lots of front doors. They very rarely open out into the street.
All right, then. Well, I guess we'll give the knocker a good rapping.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you rap or pull the bell, whichever. There's both. You can even do a combination of both if you wanted.
Yeah, Gross will get the bell. I'll get and then John will just knock with his hands.
Okay, and maybe about 30 seconds pass, and then you hear through the very thick door, you hear the faint impressions of footsteps on the other side, and then the slit opens up, so you see pretty much just the glasses and eyes of a man behind there. So, yes.
Good morning. This is Private Investigator Edgar Ongrave, along with a doctor of the occult arts, Dr. George Gross, as well as my friend here, John Leland. We have something that we'd like to bring to the attention of the lady of the house, Aurora, that does very much concern her about some associates of hers who have ended up dead.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm afraid Miss Williams, he pointedly says Miss Williams rather than Aurora, using her first name. So unfortunately, Miss Williams isn't taking visitors. If you have something you wish to communicate to her, you can leave it in writing and I can have it delivered to her if you wish. And he slides the shutter closed with a very definite thunk. You can give me a psychology roll if you wish.
Yeah.
Any of the three of you as you were all there.
Yeah, so I'll roll just
42 out of 50.
Ah, 09.
Nice.
62 out of 50, so I failed.
Yeah, I mean, Leland especially gets these vibes. Probably with Edgar having a let's say, definitely there's an inkling that something wasn't quite right, but there's something that Edgar, or rather John, is able to tap on there that, yeah, this guy wasn't going to let you in unless you had some very, very, very serious clout behind you.
I mean that's kind of expected.
Yeah, I mean, but the lady of the house saying, obviously, you're not to be disturbed. Even a valet or servant, if they're presented with, hey, your kind of employer's life is at risk here, would maybe have at least gone to have a word with them to convey this. No, he was blanket outright. He was not going to let you in unless you've got some massive clout behind you. Maybe he was under orders, but something again is that's this feeling of oddness and that feeling something just isn't right.
Before we leave, I want to look in the driveway and see if there's any recent tracks leaving or if it looks like there's not been a car left for a long time.
Well, these particular types of properties, there's no driveway that kind of goes out to the front of the building. You would have to go around a side street that would then get you to a road that goes around the back, which would then probably lead you to a courtyard. So there'd probably be a set of big gates around there. But you can indeed take a wander around there. And I think as you use the wonderful word beginning with T, you can give me a track roll to see if you can ascertain what happened there.
Well, I will spend 12 to pass.
Right. In which case, then, you do indeed, you take a wander around, looking up maybe slightly paranoid every so often just to see, hey, this place is quite high. It's 3 stories. There might be some way at the back that someone could see you coming over the back wall. And indeed, you catch sight there are some windows there. Most of the curtains are shut, though, so you're not really seeing anyone blatantly looking down at you. But there's always the potential that someone could be looking. You just haven't seen them. Working your way around, there is indeed this big gate, and there are a number of tracks that come out from it, where they've crossed over either some like oil drops on the ground, or maybe there's some mud patches around there, or grass where it's crossed over. But there's 2 things that you spot, one of which is kind of normal. You see regular tire tracks for what you presume is a fairly nice car. Maybe not being exactly well versed in, this particular tire tread means it's maybe like a Rolls Royce or something. It's their tire tracks for a car. That's about as much as you can ascertain on a regular success. But they're also tire tracks for a truck that you do see. So a big, heavy vehicle has been round here in the not too distant past.
Yeah, we heard a truck on the night of the attack on Teresa's house.
You certainly did.
So now it's looking like she's the one who's guilty or causing all this.
What do you want to do?
We just need to get out of here. Let's not leave any notes.
Okay. So in which case, the poor butler behind the door, anxiously waiting for that letter to come through the door to give to his employer that says her life is in danger, is probably going to have to give up and go and read his newspaper or something.
Oh, I'm second guessing myself. I think I'll just leave my contact information on. I don't want to endanger anyone else, so I'll give them my office and not my home address.
Okay, so you give them a target that is well away from where you live, where you work.
And then I can collect on the insurance.
What else are the rich good for, you know? All right, you can leave your business card through the letterbox. That is not a problem. And then you can get the hell out of there before anyone notices you.
Yep.
All right, and cutting across then to Chelsea, where there's the grand, imposing structure that is the Riverside Hotel, part of the chain of hotels that is owned by Whittaker. Well, you know where his offices are there. This place, again, radiates power, authority, money. This is a great big phallic monolith of a building that shoots up into the sky that is well appointed and fits in with the landscape around here. This just radiates power and authority and the size of something that he may be compensating for. So, which of you has the lower luck? I think from memory it was Melvin beforehand, unless David just spent a whole load of it.
No, I'm still at 51 after my earlier expenditure.
I'm at 60, yeah.
Give me a roll to see if you have a fortuitous encounter there.
Second luck roll, second near fail, 56 for 51. Before I spent, I would have spent, and I fail.
Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles then. Which case, as you arrive, you notice there are various, obviously, taxis pulling up, people in like fur coats and other such, or at least they are maybe not wearing a fur coat in this weather, but they are dressed in such a manner that you can obviously tell that the clientele that arrive here are loaded. This is a very expensive building, a very respectable place in a very affluent part of London that caters to a very rich client base. And as you are coming up to the building, There you see there's actually a lady that's been escorted out by a couple of security guards. She's not exactly dressed like she's poor, but she's definitely more working class, shall we say, just like regular clothes. That she's not being kind of manhandled, but there's a couple of guards with like an arm, one grabbing an arm either side of her, and they're just taking her over to a taxi and just like not throwing her in, but definitely making sure that she gets inside, and then knocking on the taxi door for her to get driven away. You have not seen this lady before, but it's such a scene. You see it and you kind of clock her face, but she doesn't look at all familiar.
Middle-aged, younger, older?
You think she's probably younger side of 30, so or early 30s rather than later 30s.
Perhaps unlikely to have been a client at the hotel, wouldn't you say, Damage?
Yes,
Perhaps
most likely
employee who's unwelcome, or
perhaps did something, stole something from somebody's room and was thrown out. It would be possibly cheaper to throw her out rather than alert the authorities and get involved in some sort of legal thing. I've got a question for you. You recall what Edgar and George and John said. Now Whitaker is the owner of a number of hotels, is he not?
yes.
This is one of them. This is where his office is. How, again, is he involved?
So he owns a family of luxury hotels. It was his hotel in Switzerland in which Ms. Williams was burned. She sued him for damages, and Dunbar represented him.
So that is a good motivation if she's wanting to, get rid of this. And did he win? He won. She didn't win, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So I think you should send it. We'll stop at the front desk, ask for a bit of hotel stationery. You can clip your card to it and say, "We wish for a few minutes of Mr. Whitaker's time regarding our concerns and a recent series of arsons. If the fellow's been reading the papers, then he'll know what we have in mind."
Oh, yes, that sounds like a good idea. So, yeah, I wonder if they're going to even let us in the door. We'll try.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here on official business.
It's a big entrance. There's lots of doors that they couldn't hold them all shut for you.
So
Well, we're respectable gentlemen. It's not as though
I don't have my jacket any longer. I've ordered a new one from Savile Row, but
you should stop burning your jackets. It's a terrible habit.
They've saved my life twice, I suppose.
They weren't called smoking jackets for nothing,
Well, let's see how we do. We'll go in.
Yeah, you can head into the reception. Yours the grand lobby, a massive chandelier that lights the place up. Again, there's furniture here that's like worth a year's pay for you. It's affluent and very decadent, very luxurious. There's a large marble counter where you can see various receptionists, which are obviously would be the point of contact for you, really, because you don't really know where you're going, and wandering around a hotel like this, they're not just going to let people in off the street to wander around.
Right. Now I do have a credit rating of 65, so I at least know how to properly act. Mm-hmm. So walk up to the concierge.
He sees you coming, and we'll see he's quite ready and primed for you. So, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Not here to stay, but here on a bit of business. I'd like to pass a message to Mr. Whitaker, if he's here today.
He pulls a pen and paper out. You can see that there's definitely he's reacted in a particular way. that maybe he's a little surprised, but I mean, he definitely gets a notepad and paper out. So what was the message, sir?
The message is that we would like a few moments' time with him. We realize that he is an extremely busy man, but we've recently come from London. There's been a number of personal attacks on a number of people in the city, and his name came up on our list, and we wanted to warn him that that he may be in some danger.
If I may, Green, sorry, Melvin Spofford Harris with Dunbar and Associates.
Esquire.
Spofford Harris, Esquire, yes. We don't mean to alarm Mr. Whitaker. We are aware, however, that there have been a series of recent arsons, and we are concerned that he might be a target of these arsonists in future. It'll be easier to explain if we, again, can have a moment of his time. We'll be, yes.
Now, ironically, something that Davidge said would give you a penalty die on this roll, but something that Melvin has said will give you a bonus die on this roll. So whoever wants to give me a credit rating roll to see if you are upstanding enough people that are worthy of the concierge getting you through to Mr. Whitaker.
Credit rating? 02 on 65, so extreme.
Right, particularly then with that good a roll, you can identify what was maybe the thing that gave you that kind of positive and negative. The minute you're talking about, oh, there's a threat to him, it's that kind of, you can almost see the reaction of, oh God, not again, is the kind of look that comes over him. But then when Melvin says, no, actually, we were Dunbar and Associates, that's a case of, oh, actually, yeah, you must be serious then, because apparently he recognizes the name. So he's, yeah, if you'd like to wait over here for 1 second, gentlemen, I will just go and see if Mr. Whitaker's free for a moment. And he promptly toddles off. And
walk over to the central table in the atrium where all of the flowers are blooming. And like, peonies, I love peonies. What are the peonies doing blooming this time of year? They must have them shipped in from somewhere.
It's the unseasonable warm weather. Yeah, there's even things like nice ice water decanters there that have got slices of lemon and lime in as well. So, again, a high-class joint. And about 5 minutes or so, the concierge comes back and sees you with a smile and says, "If you'd like to follow me through, I'll take you to Mr. Whitaker's office now. He'll see you."
Yes, of course.
Right, and he leads you through this kind of labyrinthine network of corridors deep into the building. You wouldn't have been able to find this unless you knew where you were going. So being able to actually have someone there show you the way is definitely a plus here. It also means, though, now you know the way there. So if you wanted to go back, you could find your own way. So he takes you up to this wonderful set of double doors. He knocks, and this quite not booming voice, but definitely loud, authoritarian voice on the other side says, "Come in!" And he opens the door up, and these be the two gentlemen that wish to talk to you from Dunbar and Associates. At which point, Whitaker, he's a slightly older man. He's in his probably late 50s, early 60s at this point, if I remember right. I'll quickly scoop back to his profile to get an exact age for you. He is... But, yeah, he's in his late 50s, early 60s. So, I meant not quite, I was looking wrong. He's 51, so early 50s. But he has a pipe hanging out of his mouth. There's definitely the smell of tobacco air in the room. Otherwise, fairly swept-backed dark hair, very fine suit. Again, the whole apparel of the office is, again, just reeks money and authority. And he leans back in his chair and looks towards you. As, yeah, so the concierge here said that you were from Dunbar and Associates. So We'll see. Mr. Dunbar being my lawyer. What was the problem? I've got a couple of deals going through at the minute. So which case is this related to?
Is there a large window behind him?
There's three.
Yeah, I think I'm going to defer to Mr. Spafford Harris, Esquire, to do the talking, and I'm going to go get the fire extinguisher.
Okay.
Which will look very odd, except that.
Yeah, no problem.
Hopefully he'll explain to this.
But, I don't know, unless you told me. I don't know where you're going, but
it becomes obvious in a moment.
Yes, it will. Yes, Mr. Whitaker, I'm sure you're very much up on current events, but perhaps you're not aware of the fire at Dunbar Associates.
He looks genuinely surprised and a little bit shocked. A fire?
Yes, that's what brings us here.
Oh, you don't have to get all that paperwork signed again. I mean, that was a lot of paperwork I had to go through.
I'm afraid that's the very least of it, sir. Mr. Dunbar was killed.
Oh, so I've got to find a new lawyer. Oh, joy.
Well, the firm, of course, would be delighted to retain you as a client, and hopefully most of the data and paperwork has survived. But the other reason that we came here sort of urgently to ask for an audience is that Dr. Paul Chamberlain also died recently, and also by fire.
His eyes narrow slightly and he shakes his head. Am I supposed to know the name?
Perhaps not, sir. Paul Chamberlain was the plastic surgeon that operated on Aurora Williams.
His eyes at that point open wide and you can see his face starting to go red. Maybe if you could see him starting to crack his knuckles and squeeze the life out of the desk in front of him, you might hear the wood starting to snap. His urge to kill meter is starting to reach 11. You've definitely touched a nerve.
Again, we don't wish to take up any more of your time, and I'm sure that the office will be approaching about the paperwork at Dunbar Associates. But a few of us and I, aware of a couple of. There was an arson the night before the Dunbar fire, you see. So I'm quite certain that Mr. Dunbar was intentionally the victim, and quite certain that Paul Chamberlain was also intentionally immolated. And so if there's anything that you can do to protect yourself against the possibility of fire, sir, I think it would be in order.
Right. Once again, you've got your foot in the door and then put your foot firmly in it by mentioning Aurora's name, which is like waving a red flag to a bull. You can give me a persuade roll with a what would have been a bonus die and then promptly taken away with a penalty die.
Just over 50-50. 66.
Does that sound like we're in the range of luck? Do you want to save this man's life or try to save his life that much?
I think, yes, I think that 11 is a reasonable sacrifice to try to get through to a man who otherwise is going. Having seen what Dunbar went through, I don't want that to happen to any others.
So. He is on the verge, this close to screaming at you to get the fuck out of his office when you mention Aurora's name.
Yeah.
But you're able to pull it back, being a consummate diplomat and being someone who is able to quietly and calmly and logically step through this argument to say, no, your life is in danger here. And maybe it takes a little bit of time to sink in, where it has you wondering for a moment, is he going to buy it? Is he actually going to listen to us and get this through his thick head? And maybe as Davidge comes in with a fire extinguisher and starts taking up position by the windows behind him, that you think actually the scales have tipped and he is accepting of what you're saying. Now, For Davidge, as you're over by the window, thankfully looking outside, there's no orbs of flame flying through the sky out there. But you do notice a couple of things that maybe might be valuable for later. There is a fire escape outside of his office window.
Okay.
So there is a very small exterior, like a balcony, with a ladder that then goes down the side of it. You're on the first floor, so American second.
Sure.
So there is a single-story drop below you, and that goes out to somewhere that you think might be approximate of the loading bay, where like laundry would come in for external deliveries and the such.
Mm-hmm.
The back end of the building. So it just strikes you that you could get a big truck or lorry down there without any problem. But
Right.
thankfully, no balls of fire,
And no little triangles of stone underneath the desk, or
no. You have a good look around. Nothing.
it may seem quite odd what we're doing here, but we were actually in the office with Mr. Dunbar when he was attacked. Somebody seemed to throw something through the window. That's why I have the fire extinguisher. We wouldn't want you to be attacked in this manner. How much access is there to this building? You should.
What do you mean access? It's a
It's
big
a public building. Yeah.
I'm
public.
looking up
He almost scoffs at that. I'm not letting the members of the general public come in here.
No, indeed. Mr. Whitaker, so as it happens, we know that 2 nights ago, Mr. Dunbar was targeted at a private home, but he wasn't at an assignation there, and so he was missed. So the next day, he was targeted in his offices. So if you might consider, given that you have, after all, ample magnificent places from which to organize your business, if you would consider, for the short term, and we are in touch also with Scotland Yard, although nothing decisive is happening, but if you were to change your schedule a bit, you might have the potential to thwart some assault. We're not certain that that person is behind it, but it seems a likely.
We're trying to figure it out, yes.
But you have the opportunity, if you would, perhaps you could inspect some of your properties in other locales without giving away your itinerary, and then if an attempt is made, you'll be safe and far away.
You can see him nodding, and there's evidently wheels turning internally, trying to work out various things. And after a moment, he looks up at you and very calculatingly says, "As you know, then I am a very busy man. How long do you think I'm going to have to be going away for? Because there's only, obviously, I've got so many balls up in the air. I need to be able to keep them juggling and keep them moving. So, how long are you thinking?"
I expect that things haven't gotten so out of control so rapidly that whatever the circumstances is, either we should be able to solve it, or the authorities shall, or it shall burn itself up. I would imagine a few days at most. You should be inconvenienced. And Green, I'll take one of your cards, and here's my card as well. If you have any further questions,
And if you know of anybody, have you received any threats lately?
He kind of scoffs and said, "Well, not so much threats, but I know the couple of the ladies on the front desk have informed me there's been some lady or woman that's turned up, again with similar kind of accusations or warnings from yourself, saying, 'Oh, my life's in danger. I've got to get out of here.' But they've probably thrown her out on her ear."
Do you have a name?
He just gives a description that he's been given, so it's kind of like second hand. that vaguely could be approximating the lady that you saw thrown in the cab?
I look at Melvin and I said, Joan Smith?
Melvin is in stunned
Very,
silence.
very much my thinking. Also nondescript, wasn't she?
No, she was, in terms
Not
of
so
general
much.
clothing, but she wasn't like Smith level of anonymity. There was definitely distinguishing features. She looked normal.
Well, they put her in a cab, so we wouldn't know where she went. Very well, Mr. Whitaker, you have our cards. We are actively looking into this matter, and again, so are the authorities. And I trust that Dunbar and Associates will be able to continue to provide you with services.
Oh, definitely. An idea, you can almost see like another light bulb goes off above his head. So if you, following your line of reasoning, you think these people, whoever they are going to make some kind of attack on me, and if they were so brazen to even attempt it in my good gestures to the grandness of the structure in such a place as this, I can have a word with my security team here and have a word with the front desk, so that if you wanted to potentially use this place as a bait, that if they did attempt to come here, that you are more than willing to use the room and lie in wait for them to turn up if that's what you think they might do.
Well, that's an entirely reasonable suggestion, I think. Green?
Yes, looking around at the things in the room. Hopefully, your security team will be able to prevent a fire if that is indeed how it seems like fire is their chosen method of attack.
Right.
I'd move anything or have moved anything truly valuable out before too long.
Yeah, sir. I imagine your safe will probably be reasonably secure, but other flammable things of import you might have removed as well as. I mean, I wouldn't tell so many more people than necessary what your itinerary is. Again, it should be very long.
Only your most trusted advisors. Nobody connected at all with the woman or any of this.
No, it's a very small circle. You don't need to worry about that. I'm sure I can arrange for, mostly with the war, travel overseas isn't exactly going to happen, but I can maybe head up to one of my other establishments, maybe up in either Birmingham or Glasgow. I can head up there for a couple of days.
And given the possibility that you are on the same list of enemies, as it were, with Dunbar and Chamberlain, are there any other names that come to mind that might be people that have a grudge held against them?
I wouldn't exactly say it's a long list, but there's maybe enough people that would hold grudges to various different levels of severity. I mean, I'm a businessman. You don't get to this kind of position without making a few enemies.
Of course.
No, of course, sir. I mean specifically someone who resented you and Chamberlain and Dunbar. Anyone else in that special club?
I wouldn't have even connected connected this Chamberlain with
yes,
that woman, and he can't even bring himself to say the name Williams.
Any other people associated with that woman besides you and Dunbar?
That would be a question for either maybe the newspapers or for her, but definitely no one I can put my finger on.
Do you recall who her lawyer was?
Well, her lawyer was Dunbar originally, before I managed to make him a better offer.
I see. So originally I'm wondering then who lost the case, which would be her next lawyer.
It never became a case because I made an out-of-court... I managed to convince Dunbar to make an out-of-court settlement.
You settled, yes.
And then afterwards, he promptly accepted another offer he couldn't refuse and became my lawyer.
Hmm. Well, do be careful, sir.
Is there someone
to
with whom on your security staff should we speak about perhaps operating out of this space?
You can have a word with Greenaway on the front desk. He'll be able to give you all the access you need.
Very good, sir. Thank you again for your time. Travel safely. Hopefully, all this mess will be cleaned up in no time.
Yes. I'll start getting my stuff together immediately.
And rather cinematically, I will place the fire extinguisher on his desk.
Yeah, maybe he gulps at that and decides, I might take this for personal protection, just in case. And I think that's actually probably a fairly good point by which we can leave it for tonight. Not quite a cliffhanger, but a nice ominous clang as the fire extinguisher goes down on the desk.
Excellent. Our players included Max Meltzer, Josh Harwood, Alex Sun, David Gasway, and myself, with Matthew Sanderson as the keeper of arcane lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. Support for the show is provided by our patrons who are listed in the closing credits. If you'd like to join them, please visit our Patreon page listed in the description. Or you can use Super Thanks by hitting the button just below the screen. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.